Welcome back into Eight Things, where we look at the 8 things that you should be doing well on your homepage. My name is Justin Davis, a UX designer, and I'm here with Chris Klaus, a product and marketing expert. And we're going to take a look today at Tampa Bay Premier Realty, still continuing our real estate series that we've been doing over the past few episodes that we've been doing here. And we're going to take a look at this one, a look through the 8 different things that they should be doing well, starting with the hero. Let's jump right in. Let's start talking about this site, Chris.
All right. Well, kudos for them for actually having a call to action that's clear and easy to understand. Search for homes in all of Tampa Bay.
Yep.
So I got to give them that. There's no differentiation. It's just a real estate website, which is, maybe okay. From a pure call to action perspective, again, simple, easy, direct, 7 out of 10.
Yep. I agree. Yeah, I think this, it's fine, right? Like, I mean, at least the image is nice, skyline of Tampa, great. I mean, I agree. We're going to get to Brian in a little bit. But yeah, it's a clear call to action. There's a weird padding thing here that kind of tweaks me a little bit. But it is what it is. It is pretty clear. I will say that like this makes it less clear. Like having the advanced search and the sell your home starts to muddy it a little bit. Yeah, I'm with you. 7 out of 10. I don't hate it. It's not the best, but it's not horrible. It's not horrible. So okay. Decent. Let's move on. Secondary call to action. Let's look down here and see what is the secondary call to action. So we're gonna come down. We've got Tampa Realtors.
All right. So wait. We got 100 secondary calls to action. We got a
Yes.
mortgage calculator, search for homes, free valuation, YouTube, sign up for something on the side as some sort of a course. All right. This is talk about confusion. Holy cow.
Luxury homes, single family homes, pool homes. Look at all
Rocket Mortgage.
Rocket Mortgage, right? Which
Love it.
actually, ironically, is not clickable.
That looks like it should be a call to action. All right, let's keep going. This is a nice the 80s called and they want their website back.
This is
Those are all calls to action because they look like buttons that you should be pressing. And you know what? I see what they're doing here. They are SEO stuffing, and they you know what? It somewhat works because obviously we found these websites by searching for realtors in the Tampa area. However, like this is a very low conversion kind of situation for anybody maybe under 50. And that's probably not the nicest thing, but anyone who's like knows the modern web is not going to think this is a legitimate, well-run organization.
Yeah, right. And this comes back to something we said in an episode previously, and I want to bring it up again, which is the idea that more is better is not always correct. It actually, and this has been studied. If you look up the JAM study, they did a study about decision making and how the number of options affects decision making. And in that study, the thing that they found out was actually fewer options led to higher levels of conversions and decision making in general, commitments to do something. So when you put this many things in front of somebody, can actually have the opposite effect.
Yeah, it's also true for margin, right? Which is maybe not something you have to worry about as a real estate agent, but the fewer your the fewer your inventory, the more you can charge and still drive an increased conversion rate. So we'll talk about other things, but I would say on a secondary call to action, I would give it a 1 out of 10.
Yeah, it gets so messy so quick, just loses what was sort of some clarity up here, kind of gets lost immediately as you start going down the page. So let's look at navigation, see how well they're doing on their navigation here on the site, right up here across the top. So looks reasonably standard. Home, buy, sell, just listed, map search, cities, about, blog, and Divvy Homes. Not sure what Divvy Homes is. It looks like by the URL, it's a lease to own program. We're not going to go look at it because we're just looking at the homepage today. But we have that. We also have the hamburger nav, which is the same. I don't understand this pattern, by the way. I don't understand having the hamburger with the same navigation set and the main navigation visible at the same time. It's one or the other.
Yeah, I had to assume they're using, somebody who maybe isn't as tech savvy, so it becomes much easier to just hide one nav when
Yep.
you're in mobile versus having like the alternating pattern. So
Yep.
it's maybe not the best pattern. I understand, why you might do it. I don't love it. There's maybe a little too many options, sorry.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know, like, what does Divi Homes mean to anybody, right? So, like,
Right.
there's no real clear explanation on some of those items. Plus, there's a lot. Um, generally, I would say it's not the worst I've seen. It's not the best I'd seen. Maybe a 4 or 5 out of 10.
Yeah, I think that's right. And what's interesting about it is as we kind of bridge into talking about copy and narrative here. Um, What's interesting is that there is something interesting in the navigation that's just listed, which I really love as like a section of content because this is the new stuff. You can build calls to actions around this. Sign up to get notified of our latest listings, this kind of thing, right? You can drive the just listed concept into further lead building and list building. What's a little frustrating here is that it exists in the nav, but it doesn't really exist down here. And that is a huge miss as we start to talk about narrative and how this site unpacks itself as you go down the experience. This just listed should be a carousel or something right here under this homepage. Here are the latest things, latest inventory that just hit. It's a big missed thing to just stuff that in the nav and not bring that back out into the page.
Couldn't agree more. And I think one of the things is as you scroll through here, even the titles, Tampa Bay Realtors, Tampa Florida Homes, Tampa
This
Bay
is
Premier Realty. It's just keyword stuffed like crazy.
It's so
Um,
obviously keyword stuff. And y'all, here's the thing. Yes, we found this via Google. And yes, this may be working right now, but Google does not like this.
yeah, it's with every update, I would imagine they'll be further and further down.
Yeah.
But as you scroll through it, like Tampa, Florida, I mean, look, I'll give them some credit. They have subtitles. They do chunking fairly well.
Mhm.
But I I'm not digging it. Like they have center aligned text that wraps around content where it should be left aligned. Like
Oh,
the copy and
God.
narrative, it's far too SEO focused and it's not user focused. And look, I did SEO
Yeah,
for years and I've done it very, very well. But the reality is if you're focusing on the bot and you're not focusing on the people, you're not doing SEO well. Because if it doesn't drive to conversions, traffic that bounces is worth nothing.
correct.
And so I'm not loving it. I'm not loving the copy or narrative.
No, there is
Um,
no narrative. I mean, if we look at this, there is no story being told here. I don't know anything about who these people are. I don't know anything about what they're good at. I don't know anything about what makes them better than every other realtor in Tampa Bay. It just looks like a same old, nameless, faceless, generic realty company, right?
I
There's no
definitely,
story here at all, at
definitely.
all. So I think that's a real problem, right? Because this is a big missed opportunity. Look, realtors, I mean, y'all, it's easy to be commoditized in this, right? And this is not helping decommoditize this. I agree with you also about the SEO. This is so obviously written for SEO. It is so obviously keyword stuff. Look at all of this stuff in the footer, all of this stuff in the sidebar. It is a mess. So yeah, the copy and narrative, absolute fail for me. This does not serve well from that perspective at all.
Agreed. So I think the one piece of the copy and narrative it does do is say, excuse me, they definitely work in Tampa. I'll give them that.
Yeah, yeah, we got that. We got that they're in
Got that.
Tampa for
All right.
sure.
Now, social proof, I do have to give them some credit for social proof. They actually included reviews in the bottom, if I remember from when you were scrolling.
They did, yes.
It
Yeah,
it's a little low for my take, but they have five-star reviews. They have them coming from places, Zillow and Google and Facebook, and
yep.
so I would give them,
Oh, oops.
a solid, like, 7 for the reviews, but I'm subtracting 3 for the location and the design.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I actually thought this was a carousel. Looking at this, right? This is an example of what we would call, I mean, it's not really a false affordance. This is actually just straight misleading, but this looks like a carousel. And instead, it takes you over to some page we're not going to look at right now to view more of these testimonials. Also, just the wrong way to do this. This should be a sliding carousel on the homepage. One of the few times using a carousel makes a lot of sense. And you're right. In terms of, again, going back to narrative, where this is, yeah, guys, this should be way up here, way above all of this garbage. So, yeah, you get points for showing up on that, but not much past that, really. Let's take a look at how this hot mess collapses to mobile.
Hey.
Let's see. Okay, so here we are. The first thing I'm going to say is this right here is an eyesore. This banner.
Maybe, but like that's the clearest secondary call to action they have.
I mean, it is.
And I wouldn't be surprised if that's the highest converting one due to its location.
Maybe the other thing, and we'd have to look at analytics to find out about this, but the other thing that could happen here is that it could be subject to banner blindness. And banner blindness is a phenomenon where users don't actually notice things in the top 100 pixels or so of a website because ad banners trained us not to look there. And so we just start lower down on the site, generally speaking. And so there is a possibility that this actually doesn't get looked at because of the banner blindness phenomenon. We wouldn't know without looking at analytics, but yeah, I don't love it from a design perspective. I think it looks pretty cheap and chintzy, and I think it actually erodes into the brand a little bit. It just kind of looks a little late night infomercial for me.
And this is why we have a marketing person and a designer, because I love I do like it personally because I know how well they work. So,
but it needs to be designed better.
On a mobile perspective, I have to say, the nav does look like it collapses fairly well.
That
it looks pretty good on mobile. In fact, it's one of the better ones from that perspective. The slightly see-through top nav while you scroll, it's an established pattern. But then having your logo have a full white background, it's just a little bit of cheapness that comes through.
Yeah.
But this is not the worst.
Until you get here and look at these lines that don't wrap and they run out of the container and get cut off. Guys, slop. This is just slop. And it looks, this is detail level stuff that I feel like needs to be paid attention to because it looks unkempt. And then I just assume your whole agency is unkempt.
Yeah. I mean, we're not at brand yet, but unfortunately, like it's hard to ignore brand as we continue to scroll through the site a few times.
Right.
The pattern, I actually hate it less on mobile than I did on the web because you've got rid of the sidebar. And so it's actually a little cleaner. And so believe it or not, on mobile, this probably does better than it would on desktop. And it's because some of those distraction elements are gone.
Yeah, that's very fair. That's very fair. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that for mobile, I think we're doing okay. I'm going to give it probably a 7 or so.
I would tend to agree.
Yeah. Excellent. All right, let's move on and let's talk about the two last ones, starting with look and feel. This is going to be a fun one here. Look and feel.
Yeah. So I mean, the first thing is the sidebar is so stuffed, and what I already said on mobile, the site looks better than it does on desktop, and it's because of the sidebar.
Yeah.
And look, sidebars were very common in blogs, but even now, sometimes you see that they're removing the sidebar or they're shrinking it down to like one secondary call to action, not 50.
Yep.
And it's because it is distracting.
Yep.
So, that's, and it's hard for me to say this without talking about the brand, but in this particular case, I'm going to go to the second logo or the first logo after the hero. That looks like I had my daughter.
Here?
Yeah,
this
it looks
guy?
like I had my daughter do it, and she just learned how to play with shadows.
This drop shadow treatment.
It is not a good look.
No.
And yes, we're going to probably touch upon it from a branding perspective, but pure from look and feel, there's a lack of detail here. So the top logo having a solid white background, even when the rest of it becomes transparent. This big drop shadow, which doesn't match On the second logo, which doesn't match this. Yes, this is part of the brand, and so but it's hard not to talk about this from a pure look and design perspective. I do
Right.
think they have a nice pattern for these calls to actions with these like the red design, and they have some
These
nice.
guys here.
Yeah, they're pretty nice, right? They
Yeah, I
don't
don't hate those. I don't hate
um
those.
yeah, so parts of this from a look and feel are really polished. Those four are really polished. The rest of the site does look like, we hired a junior person and just let them go to town.
Yeah, I mean, a few things I want to point out, and this is like the theme of this website. I feel like, which is just like a slop parade, right? Which is there's all of these little inconsistencies, and y'all, you may think we're being picky here, but this stuff leaves an impression. Just like if somebody walked into your office, and hopefully your office is not a mess. You try to keep your office neat and tidy. You try to make it look and feel professional. Website's a virtual office, right? So even with these, the Y getting slightly coming over this red diagonal, the fact that this is in regular case and this is in uppercase, the fact that this wraps and this does not, right? This like tool is capitalized here, our is not capitalized here. Weird little inconsistencies with no real reason for them. This house icon in every one of these logos is killing me. Look at this doesn't match this height. So that's the thing, is all across this site there's just these unkempt edges that make the whole thing feel untidy.
So I'm going to give, my one of my fonts discussions, right? So if we scroll
Okay.
down, generally I'm a believer that only a designer with a lot of experience should ever center text.
Yeah.
Left align always is hard to screw up. So
Yep.
that's my number one. Number two, I saw bullets, I think a little bit higher up on the sidebar.
Right here, these
And
guys.
yeah, bullets have to actually wrap with the correct spacing. And so when you have like the word available underneath the bullet and then you start the next bullet, it's these little things
Yep.
that people actually are not cognizant of. But the look and feel of text is actually so ironically in real estate websites, I'd like to talk about video and pictures and them being the most important thing. But for the vast majority of websites, text is how somebody knows and can feel your quality. Text
Yeah.
is the ultimate arbiter of quality, and it
Yep.
doesn't even matter what it says sometimes.
Absolutely.
And it's the little details of not of centering poorly, of not aligning things, of having improper spacing on the ends of buttons, like the sign up, like there's not enough padding in between.
Yep.
And so it's all of these things that actually impart a feeling of non-quality.
Yes.
And it's not necessarily a lot of additional work to tweak some of these things. So I think they could probably keep their rankings, make some cleanup efforts, and probably get it done in a couple of days if they just really blitzkrieged it.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. This is not hard. This is just the last mile of web design, right? One last thing before we move to brand and we wrap this up, I want to mention, and this is a little bit of a soapbox I'm going to get on here, guys, because I see this happen all the time and it makes me insane, which is inconsistent and inappropriate capitalization. Mortgage calculator, capital M, capital C. It's a title. I got no problem with that. Search for homes, lowercase h. Pick one. These don't match up. The second thing is live the Tampa lifestyle, capital T, capital L. It's not a proper noun. It's not a proper phrase. It's not a heading. That is not supposed to be capitalized. Y'all don't capitalize random words. You capitalize proper nouns and you capitalize headings. You do not capitalize anything else. That's the rule. We all learned this in third grade. It just looks like you're not paying attention.
So,
yep.
Now the marketing angle. Rules are meant to be broken. I don't care if you capitalize things because guess what? It's all about drawing attention. So I'm okay with you doing something like that. But a little bit of bold, a little bit of italic, a little bit of sex appeal would go a long way to justifying some of that. Just randomly in the middle of a sentence that's buried in a paragraph,
yeah.
it does start to look a little bit off. Also, Excessive use of exclamation marks, and I'm not saying they have excessive because I see just one right there, but
Mhm.
excessive use of exclamation marks is not a good thing,
There's one
especially in real
here,
estate. It feels excessively selly.
one here. Yep.
Yeah. So, um, anyway,
2 of them here. We got 2 for Land O'Lakes.
um, you know, I like Land O'Lakes. So,
Great buddy.
yeah. So, guys, I think from a pure brand perspective, you've diluted your brand. And I think that's the
Yeah.
number one thing. And the reason we have look and feel before brand, and sometimes they blur together, is
Mhm.
because the look and feel, and you guys should appreciate this, your website is your virtual real estate. And so you sell real estate, and you should understand how much the look and feel and your first impression matters.
That's right.
And as your virtual real estate, this is doing a poor job.
Yeah.
So yes, you're attracting people by keyword stuffing, but your conversion rates are not going to be they're not gonna do it for you.
No.
And so I think focusing in on cleaning up the design a little bit, sure, let's keep the SEO content as much as we can, but clean up the design, unstuff it a little bit, unpack some of the look and feel items, and watch your conversions increase, and watch your cost per lead or your cost per acquisition decrease.
Yep.
And that is everything.
That's right. And often like a response might be, well, we just don't get our leads through our website, right? They come in through other things like Zillow or aggregators or things like that. But here's the point is that you could be. This is just squandering another lead source, right? And it is putting poor branding out into the world that, to your point, is diluting the brand. This does not help the brand at all. Like this shoddy logo treatment and the inconsistencies and all that does not help your brand. And so, yes, while you might pick up some rando long tail traffic from this, somebody who's coming at it from out of town and they're evaluating multiple realtors, or they're doing a corporate move, or they're doing something else like that, probably going to choose somebody else with a little bit more polish on them than this. So yeah, I think that it is just unfortunate that the brand is not being elevated the way that it should be. Also, by the way, I wanted to mention one other thing that I just noticed. The nav does actually collapse. We had it slightly to you see that, like the Dream America goes away and then the
Well,
mobile hamburger guy comes up. So that's weird that they're just stuffing. They just kind of continue to stuff the nav into the drawer until it all goes away. Until you get to like there's only 3 left. So
that actually, it's a pretty advanced pattern. So I have
interesting.
to
I've
say,
never seen that actually.
I have it's good. I'll have to readjust the nav score.
Interesting.
I don't know what I had it at, but I'll bump it up one level, one more.
Okay. Okay. I like it. All right. Well, overall, um, not great. It's okay, but it's not great. All right. Well, thanks for listening. Appreciate you guys tuning in and watching this one. There are 8 things that you need to do well on your homepage, and no matter how well you're doing them right now, you can probably be doing them a little bit better. Hope you learned something from this, and we will be back soon.
And if you have a website you would like us to analyze, we'd be glad to do it at no charge, as long as you're willing to let us put it on the website or on our YouTube channel. So have a good day.
Absolutely. Thanks, y'all.